Okay,
Okay.
I think we're good then.
And then,
You're out. Okay, so obviously pretty much everything we need to tackle first is all about the signs.
Um.
Um,
we're welcoming everybody.
oh yeah, good morning, everyone. Sorry. I'm in the mode of let's go today.
And then here's the contact information that we need. If you haven't filled it out, if you don't mind filling it out, and I will drop the link in there in a second. It'll help streamline things. And so we can get everything to you, the agendas, any information regarding upcoming events or legislation or anything else. Now,
Actually, that's a
Carrie,
great place to start because it talks, signs will fall into that, so will everything else. Tammy, would you mind putting together an email that we can give you the access to the email list that we have and blind copy everybody that it's on there, telling them about the signs, the different options of how to order them or donate, telling them about March 12th and the yellow envelope campaign?
Sure. Yeah, I
Okay.
still don't have access to the email list, so I
Well, okay,
did
well,
that last week.
I'll get you today.
okay, and then as we go through all of this, we will. I was talking to Beth last night. She actually had a couple good ideas about the yellow letter campaign. And I do know now I have an accurate email address for CMS for Evan Schulman, or not
Okay.
email, snail mail address.
But we are on signs right now, just
Okay, well, that, okay, yes, okay, sorry. So,
because we will get to the letter campaign. I promise.
yes, okay,
So
so we
on-
know right now we have $1,069.
Hold on a
Actually,
second.
you know what?
Hold on a second.
We have a little bit more than that. I thought I added this morning, there was another 50. And I don't know why. When we get off, I'll go back and see why it didn't add it. So we're really at 1119.
That is fabulous. So did we ever all agree on what we were putting on the back of the sign? Because if we did, I don't remember.
This is what we had originally said. That's right there.
Thank you.
And this bottom part is left blank where we can write on it in memory and honor of, or just put the name or whatever else you might want to put on the bottom of your sign. Isn't this the one I went through everything we talked about?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Like two meetings ago. Yeah.
okay.
Okay. These are the different choices where you can donate. We have the Google form, which we've shared the link to originally. And then we just created a GoFundMe. And Peggy, do you want to run with that?
Yeah, with the GoFundMe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously we put this together yesterday. So this is out there as another option. And again, like I said, this morning I thought I added another 50 to it. So we're really at 1119. So
Okay, and you probably did. I created this in the middle of the night. This slide.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So the slide's just out of date.
Okay. Yeah. So if everybody, is wanting to know where we stand money wise, the best place is to go to the GoFundMe page, because I'll continue to update it even without other donations that we get outside of GoFundMe. So I guess, and then we're working on the graphic, because obviously the GoFundMe graphic right now, some of it's cut off. So.
And so Jill, if we can touch base with you following to update it to work with the GoFundMe page, please.
Yeah.
All right, Carrie.
Yeah, sorry, I got my screens all botched up.
Wait, can I just say something? I
Go
guess
ahead.
maybe this falls under something else, but so somebody that donated to me last night, actually, Carrie, I gave you her name. Her name is Dawn Olson.
Yes.
And she actually lives close to me. She has a 32 or 3-year-old daughter that's disabled in a facility. Anyway, I was communicating with her via email, and one of my concerns with our sign campaign is what we're saying on there is that the signs are going to be displayed in various locations.
Yes,
So I think, I don't know, am I wrong to say that's deceiving? Because she's like, how can I help? Like, she ordered 5 signs and she's like, I don't want the signs because she's like, they're going to do no good in my yard. She
right,
said,
but we know that like, I'm gonna put them in my yard. We know that, like, I have 2 places in Decatur that are high visibility. I have 2 here. I'm hoping you guys all can find some, even if it's just 1 sign in one person's yard or 25 in another place. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
because I mean, her comment was, how can I help with the display of the signs? I think what she thinks, and maybe other people think, because she's like, you know, do you need help placing them? I think in her mind, she thinks we're placing these like at Pritzker's yard or IDPH
Right,
or,
well, or people, so let's discuss this a minute. So obviously, we know right now we're gonna be able to order a minimum of 100 signs, okay? That I have no doubt, probably way more than that, actually. I need to go back on their website and start getting a better idea now that I know where we're headed. Because as everybody knows, the original quote I got is invalid because that quote was first started at 1,000 signs. And that was when all the states were gonna do it together, and then they all changed their mind how they wanted to do it. So, there's 2 options here. We either do scatter them around the state like we've talked about, and then get as many back to Springfield on the 12th as possible, or we try to juggle what Texas did, and which is cover an entire yard in, even if we do it in like groups of 25 in places to get attention. But then it comes down, first we have to see how many signs we truly have after people take what they want, that they've signed up for. What is everybody's opinion on that? Anybody?
yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, what I kind of said to her is it's going to depend on how many signs we're end up with. Because
Correct.
like I said to her, I said, there are people that do want to put them in their yards. And I said, it's going to depend on how much money we raise, so
Correct.
that's what I said to her. But I don't know if other people are thinking we're going to be doing these huge displays at,
Right.
what-
Well, and I realize we have never been 100% clear because we're kind of working as we're going.
Exactly.
One of my hesitations about doing 100 signs anywhere or 300 signs anywhere is after listening to Mary Nichols of, what it takes to coordinate getting them moved and getting them in the ground, getting them pulled up and getting them moved. That I think we're better off doing them in small.
What about, at one point we had talked about getting some signs in the south and some in the north and meeting in
Well,
Springfield?
that's more of what I want to do. Yes. That's why we have the 13 drop off pickup locations.
All right,
Where
let me
did
share-
where
let me
did
share that.
Texas where did Texas put theirs?
They
Was that
put
people-
mostly in people's yards, a few businesses, and literally they were putting all 300 at one time.
I don't see how that's possible, just from a logistics standpoint.
No, I don't either.
So I don't even see like 25 or 100, just getting them moved place to place. It just doesn't seem, what I had in my mind, which I couldn't really finalize until we knew how many we had, was once I knew how many I had, was to contact a few people I know if I could put them in some high visibility locations, but I haven't done that yet because we didn't know if I'd have signs or not.
Right. And I would say yes, even if it's that we only put 2 or 3, and that's what I think makes more sense. So as you're looking at this list, so O'Hare is being delivered to Peggy. Okay. Lake Villa is
Jill.
is Jill.
Northern Lake County.
Okay, Rockford is Lucy. Quincy is Julie. Springfield is 3 different people, depending on who's around, is where they'll wind up to start with. Decatur and Mount Zion are both family members of mine that will be on main highways in front of their businesses. New Baden is Fran and I. My house is on a highway and then there's a church on the next highway over going east-west. And they've allowed us, they've said we could put them in their church grass too. Roger Park is my sister-in-law, who will just give us a pickup location on the other side of Chicago, just to make it easy, so people aren't having to go all the way one direction or the other. El Dorado is Beth. Crete is Kathy, right? And Onley is, I have to look at my list, because that is somebody that emailed me and said they would be willing to help if we needed a drop-off location.
Deborah, Donna, somebody.
Okay. Hey, pretty good. I know all the rest of them.
Hey,
Oh.
Carrie,
Yes,
like in my area, I want to put them in every little town that's within 10 miles of me that have nursing homes, because all these families live in these little towns. Like I've got Harrisburg, Carrier Mills, El Dorado, Marion. So I know places I can get signs in all those places.
Oh, awesome.
Okay.
And so the
Especially
more
Marion.
we need to get it out to places that have nursing homes that families are hurting.
especially Marion, because that's a decent sized city.
That's a decent sized town, and that's my elder law attorney's town, and I know she'll put one at her business.
So, never
Um,
mind, Beth, remind me to have another conversation with you
Okay.
later. I'm
Okay,
trying not to sidetrack people today.
okay.
Well, yeah, I think we just wait and see how many signs we end up with. And then
Right,
we-
I'm
exactly.
gonna try to get some big donations from some people too.
Okay, so, and that's it. So we extended this through next Wednesday at noon.
Next
So,
Wednesday.
And
because if-
I shared the link into
Okay.
chat. The GoFundMe link is directly in the chat if you want to copy and paste it out of there.
Well, yeah,
Um,
maybe we need, when we change the graphic, maybe change the date.
right,
I
So
took
that-
it, okay, I took it off of the graphic that I just shared for right now. I just blurred it out.
Well, maybe, yeah, maybe we don't even need a date on there. I mean, as long as the GoFundMe's up, people can.
right.
donate.
But we need to say with the post, and people know we have a cutoff, otherwise they're just, oh, I'll get to it, I'll get to it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay, everything, everything you do with fundraising is about how much money do you need, when do you need it by? And those are things you have to constantly tell people,
Yeah.
or they just ignore it.
Okay.
Um,
All right,
The-
so,
So if we get to 1,500, say we get to $1,600, that's about 225 signs.
well, like I said, we don't know the exact price now because the original price we were quoted was quoted on 1,000 signs.
Okay, so probably less, but if you
Yeah.
take that times 13 locations, we're talking about 17 signs per location, per drop
Well,
location. So
okay,
even if we end up with 20, I mean, you just,
right,
it's good to have some point of reference is my point.
right, and,
thanks,
but we
Tammy.
do have some people that have ordered them, that they want all the signs they ordered. So that's gonna kind of play into
That's
this.
gonna change that some, but I'm just saying, everybody's not gonna have 50 signs most likely.
No, not at all.
Oh.
But we'll see what it is. And then my goal is the day that we're in Springfield. Obviously, we can't stake them in the ground on the steps of the Capitol because
but,
that's all
but there,
concrete.
but we can stake them across, because remember when we were there previously, I staked signs all along the grass, right where
Right.
we were. I'm gonna share that picture real fast.
Yeah, there's a big grass area.
There's a grassy area on either side of us.
Yeah.
Okay, so on either side of where this picture was taken,
Mhm.
it extended grass, and I actually had signs with stakes, and I staked out signs all along on either side while
Yeah.
we were standing there. So we can literally stake on the grounds,
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing I thought would be too.
because
is
no one
when-
stopped me before.
No, I agree. And we're gonna have a permit. I mean, I have everything filled out. I have to email the permit papers in today. And I can change the number if I need to ahead of time. So first of all, we can only have 50 people at one time. I don't think we're gonna have more than 50. I really don't. But I think we really could get much closer this time because I've had a lot of people telling me they're coming. And I hope everyone does.
Only 50 people at one time in a area, or
Yes, in an area,
Yeah,
So-
I don't think that's gonna be an issue. That's a lot of
No.
people.
is
right.
that- okay.
But we have to follow the social distancing rules. for whatever level or, phase that area is in. And right now, that's what that area is in for an outside event. Because it's,
I have a question. When you're outside, is it mask or 6 feet? It's not mask and 6 feet.
It's and.
It's and.
I mean, I think the last thing we want to do is appear to be not.
Oh, right. I'm just saying it makes a difference. Not that we all have to be huddled together, but I don't know that you need exactly.
right. And I don't know that they're gonna be, I just think we need to be mindful of what we're doing is in the end,
Yes.
okay?
We-
The,
Sorry, but can we go back to our agenda a little bit? We've kind of skipped and,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Here we go. Let me share it again.
well, okay, I started this about the sign still, but yes.
so,
Okay.
so we didn't really talk about, I know that the date, I saw on the GoFundMe that the date of, the fundraising was extended. So what
Yes.
does that do to impact our order and anticipated delivery?
So right now, let me look at the calendar to tell you what I'm anticipating. We use noon at Wednesday, as next Wednesday, the 10th as a cutoff. I will get the order placed immediately as soon as I have a dollar amount, because I already will have everything situated and designed in there. So all I have to do is tell it how many based off of the money. According to what their website says, if we get them turned in Tuesday, they should ship by the end of the day Friday. According to what their website says. Worst case is they don't ship until Monday. They're not the type of business that would close on a federal holiday. It's just gonna slow shipping. I would guess, honestly, that we need to look at the 19th as our distribution date. As our first tentative, okay, where are we meeting to start moving signs? Or me, at least like me going to Springfield and starting Indicator and starting that movement. Either the 19th, and if we don't have them that Friday, then the 22nd. The 22nd, depending on what day they come in between Friday and Saturday.
If I can ask a question, this is probably the appropriate time for me to ask. So are the signs, I still haven't understood, are the signs moving en masse like
No.
they did in Texas?
No.
Yes. No,
No.
they are not.
Because we don't have enough manpower. So every time you move 300 signs, they said you need 3 to 4 people in 3 hours to insert them, to pick them up, move them, or insert them. Either way, they said, like they said, and it also depends on yards. I mean, the average person does not have enough front yard to even shingle them across at 200 to 300. I do, but the average house does not. I do, and Julie probably does, but Julie lives in the middle of nowhere.
So
But
We're not gonna have enough signs to do that anyway. It'd just
Right.
be one location then, and
Right.
south or north or middle's not gonna see that.
Well, what they did in Texas is they moved them every 3 days.
Oh, they did
Yes,
to different parts.
to the state, correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Now, we could, and this is up to you guys how you want to do this, but we need to make a decision. We can say, okay, once we know how many are physically spoken for, we can look and say we have 60 signs left. Let's just pick a nice number for the moment. And we could start them 60 here. A few days later, I move them and they keep moving around the state and we coordinate. And obviously it's not gonna be 300, but 60 would be 50, 60, somewhere in that range. If we wanted to leave them together, as long as the last person we know that has them is going to Springfield, we could do that. That's gonna take a commitment from anybody that says they're starting, obviously they're coming to New Dayton to be delivered. They're starting here and then moving, but that means everybody that says they're gonna help do this has the space to put up a minimum of 50 signs, which is a lot easier. Lori, your microphone's off. You're still off.
Yeah, I got you. Usually I can use the space bar. Sometimes I can't. Yeah, I think that with any of these attempts to garner support, we have to figure out what is it that is really the goal? Is the goal media attention? Is the goal support for families? Is the goal visibility in that community? What is the goal? And so the reason Texas did 300 is because they then invited media in each of those locations.
Correct.
Because it was a huge visual event. And the host, Mary Nichols, said very clearly, I don't recommend doing this just in people's yards because it won't get enough pop. It'll be one sign lost in realtor signs, political signs, and other signs. So to this point, who has asked for signs and where are they going? I'm sorry, I still don't understand.
Okay, so, anybody that asks for signs are people that want to put them in their own yard, and that I'm not going to discourage anybody from doing. You know what I mean? If they want to buy them and put them in their yard, and we're never going to discourage that because it's still raising some awareness in places. Okay.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
like the idea of us trying to move 50 of them around the state. And you figure if we start somewhere around February 20th, that gives us 3 weeks to work as far up north and as far back down as we can come. Even like I said, moving them about every 3 days.
I think we
Yeah.
do need to remember that the March 12th date is important, but the week after, 2 weeks after, 3 weeks after, the signs are not useless at that point.
Correct.
We can still continue to use them and move them and get more media attention. It doesn't have to be finished by the day we're at the Capitol.
Yeah.
And actually,
Right.
that's a good point too. So maybe that's what we look at is I mean, like let's start with you two, because I don't know where Patty lives, or no, I'll get the right name in a minute. But I don't know where the other person lives in Springfield. Are either one of you in a high visible area in Springfield?
I'm not, but
And I am because I've spent a little time living with media.
Yeah.
I really understand people's interest in expressing their grief and frustration and all of that, but I really do think there's a lot to be said about the execution of this. And the reason it worked in Texas is because it was August to October, and you could get easily 300 signs in the ground, and you could also get around the state without running into snow, ice, and all these other issues that can happen in February and March in Illinois. So this one I've really struggled with because I think it's a fabulous idea, but the timing of it is so hard in Illinois for March 12th. And so I just throw that out there. And I do think it's the idea of it is I don't mind putting a sign in my yard. I'm totally good with that. People know me, but it makes very little bang if it's just in Lori Schlosser's yard. And that was the whole idea of what they did in Texas.
No, I know.
So I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
So why don't we just, as you were talking, the length of time, because I wasn't aware of how long the length of time they used to move the signs. I was thinking they were doing it really rapidly, but that's not rapidly. So why don't we plan at this point using Springfield, distributing the signs we have, and then using Springfield, the state capital, as that's where we start.
Yep.
And then from that point, we choose to move the signs en masse from location to location around the state as we move them. But because from March on, the weather isn't going to be horrendous. And I can tell you, even now in sub-zero temperatures, I can get these stakes in the ground because I've done it. I did it for my Girl Scout drive-through. So I know it's possible. It's not always easy, but if the H frames have that sharp point, if they're good H frames, they're relatively easy to get in the ground. So
Yeah,
why
and
don't we just go with, okay, we're going to keep our signs relatively local, except for the people that wanted them for the state capital, and then from there we disperse them. Can we go with that?
Yeah,
I like that idea.
Really well, I'm sorry.
Julie, you were talking?
Just real quick, we might have a Senate bill by then too, and a bill number that we can also, make a sign for too, that says support Senate bill, for essential caregivers. So that would also be a way for us to get that message out as well with the signs. I like that
Yeah.
idea, Fran.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me
Okay.
too.
And
Yeah.
that is a
Okay.
really important point too, Julie. The General Assembly, I've looked at the calendar, is not in session the 12th. Neither chamber is in session. So even if they decided to meet in person, they are not in session on the 12th. And when you think about normally when groups come and make a statement at the Capitol building, they do it on days when legislators are there, when they know that someone is going to be there, and the media will come because the legislature is in session and they're already covering things anyway.
Well, but they came last time. We had no
Okay, but
problem.
when are they in session?
Well, I went to the legislative map or the legislative calendar for both chambers, which you can find online at ilga.gov. And they're supposed to be in session that week. It's just that typically the General Assembly is not in session except when they're really trying to push things through on Mondays and Fridays. So they're there Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. They are there the following Friday, the 19th, in the House. It's a deadline in both chambers on the 26th of March. But I know that you are, the intent was it's at the anniversary time. And there was a
Right.
lot of thought that went into that.
So
And why don't we like go someplace in Chicagoland on the 12th to mark the anniversary, and then we could go to the Capitol the day before or on the 19th, because it sounds like, Laura, you're right. We need to be there when they're in session.
I mean,
But we've already publicized the 12th at the Capitol in that.
right.
I think we're committed to it. I think it's.
And
important.
also, they can change their schedule at the drop of a hat.
Right.
We've seen that
Especially
happen.
with the COVID, they haven't really met in earnest for a
Right.
year. So,
And you know
um,
what the other advantage might be too, like last time, we didn't have a lot of legislative support yet, but both the two people that were supporting us both drove over one drove 2 and one drove 3 hours to come be there with us for 10 minutes to be with the media.
Yeah.
So if we approach all these other people, you're already going to be in Springfield that week, can you at least stay overnight and meet us? There are ways to keep them there. Being the fact that we have to stick to the 12th, okay?
Yeah.
I have no problem if we do something else during that week on another place, another location.
Yeah.
But, in the end, I'm still coordinating 10 or 12 other states
Yeah.
for the 12th.
Yeah.
So we can't play with that part of it, but we can do things that entire week. But it's going to be very difficult too for trying to do Springfield one day and Chicago the next.
Yeah.
Because we
Yeah.
talked about that early
Yeah,
on.
the wisdom in Texas's approach was there was at least 3 days and sometimes 5 days or
Right.
7 days. And there were probably only 6 or 8 places in the entire state of Texas that those signs were placed 300 at a time.
And they didn't even actually do the entire state. They only did a
Right,
quadrant of it.
right.
And we don't have to follow exactly what they did, but we'll come close. So I think let's table that part, how we move them. And we'll work on that as we're getting closer, because that is not the priority right now.
Yep.
And Stephen and I are both on a time limit.
I just have one thing.
Yes.
What if we start in Springfield on the 12th? And then I like extending it a few months because the legislature is hopefully going to be working. Because right now, if you could find the ground in northern Illinois, you could put a stake in, but we've got a foot or more of snow on the ground, probably 2 feet, that's not going to be gone.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
And that's why I said, let's table that part of it till we know where we're sitting on ordering and all that, and we'll go from there.
Yep.
I was just saying, I like the idea of taking a few months or whatever.
No, I agree. I'm good with that
Okay.
too. Okay, so let's go to the yellow letter campaign. Because that's seriously, out of everything we have, that's my biggest concern. Okay.
All right, and that's Lori, or do you want to briefly talk about it, and then Lori's going to talk
Yes.
about how to
So
do
I
it?
have, first of all, I have an accurate address for CMS, so I know we're getting them in the right place. That's first.
Can you share, where are you gonna share that at, Carrie? So we all have it.
I will get it up. It's in one of my emails that I got the other
But
day.
are we gonna send it via email? Are we gonna post it on Facebook? How are we
Well,
gonna
we
post
can
it?
post it. We're gonna have to post it everywhere. Okay, that's what I just want to get the logistics worked out today of how are we gonna spread the news? Because a lot of the other states are looking at this and they're going, well, we want our governor blown up with mail. We want this person. I'm like, guys, everybody needs to focus on CMS. Because in the end of it all, they're the only one that makes a decision that
But
everybody's
why
stuck
can't
with.
why can't we do multiple things? Why can we not have people write?
We can, but you and I both know you're doing good to get people to do one thing at a time. And if we ask them to do more than one thing at a time, the odds are slim that they're going to do two. Because the average person is not the 12 or 15 of us.
I ordered a bundle of yellow envelopes from Amazon. I got 100 of them. So I thought whenever I distribute, if I give anybody a sign, I'm giving
Right.
them an envelope and perhaps even a form letter. It's not as personal, but if you give them a letter, and these are some people I don't think will necessarily write it, but I think they'll put it in they'll sign their name, put it in an envelope and mail it. But
Okay, and that works
it
too.
won't get the personalization, but it,
Right. But what I'm hoping is we can do a couple different things here. Any way here in Illinois that anybody comes up with how do you spread the information about this? Like Beth there's a little newspaper where she lives, and she wants to put something in there asking people to help us with it. Facebook, whatever. And on top of, emailing our friends and family and saying, come on, you know what my mom or Lynn or Luke have been through this year. Will you please write a letter to help us? Okay. The more
right.
people we personally get, and then we ask them to ask somebody else they know. The other thing, like I said, I'm going to start, once we get this lined out, I'm going to start posting on the national page. I'm only on like 2 other pages after that. 2 or 3 other pages. I'm hoping maybe a few people might volunteer to join a couple other pages, and stay off of Texas and stay off of Florida. Leave those 2 alone, trust me. And ask other states to join us doing this.
All right.
And then you guys can go from there. That's what I have.
Okay. Lori, can you briefly go through, this is a template that Lori sent us that can be used to write. Can everyone see that? Okay.
Yes.
yes.
I'm happy to. And I understand it is on the Facebook page, but very few people seem to have picked it up and looked at it. I designed it so that it could go to any of the major decision makers, and I totally understand Carrie's interest in it going to the primary person at CMS. And Carrie, when you make that change about whoever that person is, if it's not Evan, I'll be happy to change it on that other template, because people may look at that template and assume there he is, Evan Schulman or whatever. They may assume that he is the person. But
that is the person. That is who, yes, I want to make sure I'll double check, and I will let you know that that is the absolute correct address, but I looked right from what I remember seeing, but I want to make sure we are correct.
Okay, very good. Well, I took that off of something I found on the web. I tried to look him up. Yes, so the idea is that people would be personalizing their messages, but the message would be pretty consistent across the board. Now, do we expect that by the time people are making, potentially writing these things between now and March, Carrie, that CMS will not change guidelines based upon vaccine? Is that going to be forever and a day? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
They've straight out said it. Now, the one thing that I really think is very pertinent, if we can figure this out, is trying to time this so we don't start asking too early, because we really want the letters to hit there that second week of March, so that we're really begging people that from March 1st to 5th is when they're dropping them in the post office.
Okay.
So we need to get the groundwork laid. We need to start sharing some information, but I really feel it's important, because if they wind up with 5 yellow envelopes every day for a month, it might be easy to ignore.
Yep.
But if they wind up with 25 or 50 yellow envelopes every day for a week or two, it's gonna be much harder to ignore.
Yeah, it's the same principle as the signs.
Right.
Really do need the numbers in order for this to make a difference. My recommendations about Facebook and trying to get the Facebook crew, you have 630 or something people following on Facebook, but we've got 12 here, is that messages, it needs to be at least 3 times, and you guys are real good about that. Fran is continually reminding people, but I do believe that you need graphics with your messages, and you need to shorten your slug lines need to be shorter. So people need to understand about what you're doing in less words, more punch, more image. And I think that you'll have a better chance of getting people to hook in if you do that. The other thing that I think may be helpful is small messages, even using background colors on Facebook that say things like, "Are you still sitting outside your loved one's window? Carrie can help." It's kind of a marketing thing. We need to make less words, more images is kind of my thought. The other thought I have is around this March 12th event and this March 12th time, that Illinois Caregivers for Compromise, some of you have that around your profile picture.
Yes.
Others of us do not have that around our profile picture. It would be a very good idea to promote that very widely and often so that people change their profile picture. I don't know who came up with that or where
Fran,
or where you get your hands on it.
It is in the announcements, that the frame is in the announcements, on the top of our group page. I always pin whatever the most urgent announcement is on top of all the other announcements, but it was in the announcements. I don't know if I removed it, but it is there.
Yeah.
I wish there was a way, and I know that's what you were trying to do originally, Fran, when the other issue started that we won't touch again. I wish there was a way to make some of that easier for people to find, which Fran was trying to switch our page at one point to like a business page.
Yeah. So,
And we can't do that because we have to work within what we have. And I don't know how we make some of those things easier for
well,
people to
I mean,
find.
all of the posts that I try to, I don't get it daily, but every post that someone posts, I can add a topic, a subject to it. And so like all the Zooms are tag Zoom. I have a call to action. Like everything we've been doing recently, I've labeled it anniversary lockdown or something, just so that when because that's one of the options people can use to search on a group page. I've attended webinars on how best to market through a Facebook group, and there aren't a lot of options, unfortunately.
Can you share that circular thing that goes around the profile picture, and can we share it, Fran?
Oh yeah, it's actually a frame. People can search for that. It's a frame I created that anyone on Facebook can use.
Okay.
But yeah, we should probably make, much like all the other things you're talking about, graphics. I've been making the graphics. I'm not a graphic designer. I just kind of do what I do because I do. But we do have a graphic designer on board now that's going to be doing. So hopefully we'll run with that.
So
Yeah,
okay, so let me ask a question or a thought, maybe. I don't know which way this is gonna come out.
But where are we on the agenda? Because I want to stay.
I know, but we're still, we could tie this to the letters because that's where we need to focus. And I'm watching the time. So I like the idea of using the graphic, taking a yellow envelope and addressing it, that's our graphic. And then just a quick post. Help us tell CMS why we need to open up. And then put a link. Here you go. This is, want more information, click here. That way we're taking most of the words off. We're giving them just enough and start linking things to Google Drives or whatever to get less words. But when they want it, the information is going directly to it after they look at the graphic and the small subject of what it is. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And it does make sense. And really the slug line is, did you know even after vaccines, our facilities are not opening up? You can
Correct.
make a difference. Do these 3 things. Okay, and the same thing with around things like March 12. March 12 is our lockdown anniversary date. Our facilities are, even after vaccines, facilities are still not open. You can do these 3 things. I mean, we need to kind of cut it down and also make it very clear. It's a simple, these 3 things, and then link to whatever those things are. And then in between those kinds of posts, the singular post that says, do you have our profile ring? Here it is, use it and share it with your friends and family. So
Okay.
that you're always hitting those same messages over and over. And time everybody thinks of Illinois Caregivers, they think they've got a big thing coming March 12th, and they keep posting about it. I keep seeing things about it.
So, and then I have
Okay,
one.
so can I share something really, really quickly,
Go-
just so I
go,
can
yes.
show you guys what we've done to this point and the kind of clumsiness of how you. So this is our page, which you can see. When anyone comes on it, here are our announcements. Right now, this is the top announcement that I have. But so you click on see all, and then I've put the GoFundMe within it, Carrie's post with it. That was my post. This is asking for contact information. And I don't see the other one, but I had just added the graphic frame. But do you see popular topics and posts over here? So I've tried to tag everything by if it's a graphic, if it's whatever. And so here's the frame that was an announcement. Maybe I can only have so many announcements, and that's my problem. But
yeah, and
then
I
people
don't
can
think-
search it, and it says how you can get to it. And there's the link actually where everyone can click and take it.
And I don't know that the average person knows they're supposed to look at the announcement.
I agree. I don't think people do that, so.
Yeah, and Fran, I don't think, Fran, first of all, let me say you have done a killer job.
Yes.
I looked the whole thing over. You have killed it. You're doing a great job,
Okay.
job. But people need repetition, and they need short and visual. So don't be bashful. If you're going to run that circle, run it once a week. Run it, because they need to see it, and they need to be like, oh crap, I couldn't get that on my page last week, but this week I'm going to share it with my sister and my brother and the other one. So I think everyone who's on this call and everyone you know is the committed core needs to get that ring on their profile, and we need to share it with everybody we know. And I think that the yellow envelope that Tammy's talking about is an awesome graphic for March 12. I think it might be nice to put the basic information on the image of a yellow envelope so that everybody knows that that is a major push that's happening around that same time.
Jill, can you work with me on that?
Sure, I'd be
Jill,
happy.
Jill, I've got a yellow envelope. I just found a PNG today. I can share. I'll put it in our Google Photos for you.
Okay.
You can just snag it out. Okay.
Okay, so
It's a
the other
royalty.
thing
It's
that
a royalty-free one.
So the other thing I think from your perspective, Lori, of this hit 'em, I will go back through a couple weeks worth of CMS videos that are posted and timestamp and figure out where they are and what video of Ian Schulman clearly stating things like, no, vaccine does not mean we're going to open.
Yep.
And then I can send them to Fran, say, here, at this time, at this minute, I need you to cut this out. And maybe that's part of how we get people to write these letters, that we're going to give it to them in CMS's own words, because we're going to annoy people, that they're going to get upset that CMS is saying this, and that's how we're going to get them to do it.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. It has to be a short, easy message.
Right.
And the message, I think at this point, and God help us if we have a terrible variant issue.
Yep.
That's my next greater concern. Just about
Yep.
the time everything begins to really gin up, we have some other issue, but we'll handle that if it comes. But the most important thing is that we stay on the message and we make it easy for people to do what they need to do. And if the major message is, and I think this is it, I keep reading everything you've got out there. If the major message is, this is not changing even after vaccine, and the only people who can change it are CMS, then I think you are totally on, Carrie, to say the letters ought to go to CMS. My choice after CMS would be the governor's office. I know people, and I've been related to people who worked in the governor's office of constituent affairs. If they get a bunch of yellow envelopes, they're going to take those on. They're keeping track of those. They're tracking them by agency and topic, and then they're sending them to the agency that has to respond.
Okay, so let's do this first, and then during our moving signs, and we work on the governor.
It makes sense to me.
One at a time. Okay, so guys, I have 2 minutes.
Okay, so we're going on to, is there something you're wanting to address?
No, does anybody need anything from me? Because I have 2 minutes.
You know, one thing I think as we're talking about the Facebook page, instead of individuals expressing their frustrations and trying to work with everyone to get individual help, we need to try to make people see that this is more of an action group. Like with Zoom, I know you can look at the agenda, but if you had Zoom meeting, signs for 1 year anniversary, March 12th, something to say this is what we're working toward. Because it's probably not clear to a lot of people that are just on there. It's just place.
That's a really good idea.
Well, it's a place to express their frustrations like Facebook is for most people.
I've been using the group photo to try to put the most important point at that point up. But all right, Carrie, we'll see you later.
Okay, I have one question. You guys think it over and then give Fran your answer. On that same subject, and of people wanting to vent, wanting to do this, do we think it would be beneficial to try setting up a Zoom or two of telling people, if you want to learn truly how to use compassionate care and how to get in, we'll teach you on a Zoom meeting. It might make my life easier and I can spend less time with individual people.
Right. Well, that's what I said to you this morning. It's like, I don't know why, I think more people need to take that on or
why don't we just make a YouTube video and then we put it up and we just say, go look at the YouTube video, go look at the
And then
YouTube
if you have,
video.
perfect.
You can
Perfect.
make the
Okay.
Zoom, record it and then put it up over and over again.
Right, that's what, yes, perfect.
Just keep sharing the link to our YouTube
Keep
channel.
Okay, I'm gone. I got my next one. Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye.
You know, the
So-
other,
Because here, do you guys see that? We have a YouTube channel, but that's the only amount of subscribers we have on our YouTube channel right now.
but I like Lori's idea and I go along with that. You have to make it short. You have to make it concise so people can just glance at it. Because if they see a whole paragraph, they're probably just gonna, And I think if we just put up even like, have you asked for a compassionate care visit? Look at this page, or how many people, so many people, if we know, are getting compassionate care visits. Because the facilities are not making people aware that they can get compassionate care visits. I think there are where there's probably 35 residents where my sister is now, where Jack was. I don't see more than probably 3 people that are getting compassionate care visits when I go.
Yeah.
So I think just to state the purpose of what we're working toward more often, and we can all do that on Facebook. So when people come on, it's just not somebody's stories of what they need help with, but.
And I don't know how to, I can't prioritize the things that are coming up. I did just share, you're right, Lucy, though, we do need to continue to focus. So what I'm going to ask is, I just put our group Gmail up, and if you have something that you think we should be emphasizing, shoot it to me in the short amount of words. If you have a catchy something, shoot it to me, because then Jill and I can get together and we can create the graphics together and the post, and then we can run it, because I can actually schedule posts to run. So those are things I can do so that it'll just recur, or it can post then and it can post. But I can't, none of us can do it all alone. And
No.
so, and to do it together, provides unity and makes us all stronger. And
Well, and it's a
participate.
learning experience for most of us.
So, so there's the Gmail that I put into the chat. And then I would like to go on in our meeting. I'm gonna share screen again. In our agenda, we're supposed to be talking about future meeting times at this point, and then we'll come back. We're gonna circle back to some of the other stuff, but I'd like to at least cover these items that are important that we need to cover. And this is Peggy.
Okay, yeah, so we said, what do you have? Yeah, add.
Oh,
Yeah, so
yeah.
add,
Oops,
yeah,
sorry.
exactly. No, you had that right. So if
Sorry.
we're gonna alternate, it would be, yeah, add Thursdays, which would be the first, third, and fifth Thursdays of the month will be morning, Zoom at 9. And then the even will be evening. So I guess that's an easy way to remember it, evening, kind of the second and fourth Thursdays will be 7:00 p.m. if that's what we decide we want to do. I guess we could try next week and see if we get more, you know, if we
I
get
think
more.
that sounds good.
Yeah, I think we need to commit to it for a bit, you know,
Yeah.
just, and that too needs like a very concise, you know, Facebook post.
Mhm.
I forgot to post. I normally on you know, the other day I normally try to have the post for today up, and then in the morning I try to have the post that says today Zoom at this time, but I forgot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but even a graphic, Fran, that said, you know, something about we're going to meet in the evening next week, like put that up right away and just
Yeah.
say, but then put the Zoom part out later. But honestly, the Zoom post itself is a whole lot. Like when Lori says, keep it short and sweet. It's,
Well, because you guys told me to put the agenda in, and I have to put the link, and I have to
I
put the past.
understand how we got there. I'm not-
Right, but I'm like, how do we shorten it?
Well, I think you have actually two posts. You have a post that goes up even anytime, even now, that says, you know, meetings on Thursdays, next meeting, I don't know, in the evening, something that announces that we're going to start having evening meetings. Doesn't have the Zoom, you know, watch for the Zoom link.
If you do it every week, put the date. I know I'll get confused with this.
The date, like,
You know, the dates of, you know, the upcoming date for a Zoom.
And the time, like, is this going to be on that date? Is it going to be morning or is it going to be evening? Even
so
though
it'd be
you
like
do
this.
have
I
it-
could do this, and then I could put the date, the time.
Yep.
You do
I
realize
can do
you're
it.
asking a number challenged person to make
No,
it. That's okay.
I'm just suggesting that we do it because well, first of all, have you been talking to people who want to do it, but they can't do it at that time? Is that?
Yes, we've had people, Peggy's been really good about, because when I do post the Zoom link, a lot of times we'll get comments, oh, I'm working, or I'll try to catch it on YouTube. And so Peggy touched base with quite a few, and I'll let you run with what they said to you, Peggy.
Yeah, no, there's just, I know Nancy for sure. Yeah, people that work during the day.
And
Nancy,
Janice.
I think there was, yeah, a couple other people. It sounds like they're, you know, would join us in the evening. So I guess, and maybe
Okay.
there's other people, you know, I guess time will tell, you know, we'll have to try it and see if it makes a difference.
And going back to somebody's point before about coming to the Zoom meeting, I feel like, yeah, people think it's a support group. And if you have an agenda for that day that fills out the whole time, I think it's important, but maybe you need to have some, you know, just more free time, or a whole Zoom meeting one time for.
Well, we actually do have scheduled even into this one. Tammy, can you just read it off of the top?
I just shared what I had put on the agenda that we just started using like 2 weeks ago. Trying to just, Jill, just trying to keep on track, because we got off track so easily. it was obvious last week, the first week with the agenda, is that it helped us stay on track. But part of the reason, and this was what you see in the chat, if you've got that open, part of the reason we come together is because we all need some community to express our heartaches and our
I'll share it so you can see it.
everything that we need to, accomplish. And
right here.
so that we were going to try to keep the meeting at an hour, and that's what Fran would record. But then afterwards, last week, I think we spent a good 45 minutes just doing that sort of share, and I think we need to do both, but I think we need, if we're going to really accomplish the things we want to as a group and be actionable, we need to have a organized meeting structure for
sure.
an hour.
But, I don't know if, I know it makes total sense to have this free time at the end, because the important thing is the agenda items. But maybe you should think about having it in the beginning, when new people might be coming on board, and, I'm
Yeah.
just
So maybe
thinking out loud.
Maybe we could start it sooner for that kind of thing. And then at this time, exactly, we're starting the meeting. If you want to sign on early to talk, to share, and then maybe it can carry over. But then also we need to find someone that will facilitate that sometimes, because I can't always give a bunch of times around the clock every time we have a meeting.
Right. It's hard to keep. We struggled a little bit more this week, I feel like, than last week staying on the agenda. But
We're supposed to be here.
Maybe next week we could start with more of a welcome. Like, we could have put this little paragraph at the beginning today for sure, just to.
Well, maybe there's too many things on the agenda.
Well, if we stay to the agenda, we're okay.
We've talked about
today's agenda was really about the signs in the letter. That's all that was really on the agenda, besides then, new business, if anybody.
And can I say something really quick about the letter, just since that is part of the agenda? The only thing I was thinking is, and I think it kind of goes, well, everybody's saying is, the thing that I think we need to do at the end, like with closing, is, I guess, be more specific. I guess, what are we really asking for still? I guess, that's like, to say opening up, that's way too, I feel like that's way too, what's opening up mean? They're not going to open up the doors. So I guess, I feel like with this envelope, before we send something out, we have to be very specific what we are asking for.
We have this template right here, this one, and here's a sample letter, and then Tammy had written a sample letter for the signs, but these are that we are going to email out to everyone on our email list with when we make a Google Doc, I guess, combine it all. I can make it into a PDF even, but as well to go out with the email, then people are going to have exactly what they need to say. We're not going to just say, hey, you need to do this, and not give them pretty much everything they need.
Yeah, I think that's helpful, Fran. And the way my templates anyway were constructed, the second to last paragraph says we need swift action with updated protocols at the federal, state, and local levels. We have to measure risk against duration of life and quality of life. And because the bottom line message really is they're behind, if you ask me, on the guidelines that go with these vaccines. We've got these vaccines now. Now you can say to me, well, it's going to take a while to roll them out. And I can say to you, it takes the federal government months to make any change. So the changes in the guidelines should have been moving right along with, and I know Evans I've looked at his correspondence to Carrie. They do say, we're thinking of you, but I think we just need to keep pressuring them. You've got to release this change guidelines, because until you do, IDPH will not change anything in the state of Illinois. So that's what the two templates say, is you need to update at the federal level the guidelines. And then for the state of Illinois, you need to go along with changes in the federal guidelines, and also make any pressure you can on the federal government to do that.
Yeah, but what are we asking for from a change? I mean, we have people that still can't even get a compassionate care visit, or be an essential caregiver, which is what we really started out, what's our mission statement,
Yes.
or, you know, part of. So we have people that can't even get that. And I mean, you know, what are we wanting of change in the guy? Yeah, I guess, I don't know. I'm a little.
So do you mean, are we asking for them to allow in compassionate caregivers? Or are we asking them to allow in aunts, uncles, and all the cousins? Is that what you mean, Peggy?
Yeah, yeah, because I guess when I hear opening up, we know there's no way, they won't even let people can't even get in one person, compassionate care, essential care. There's no way they're gonna just open up the door. I'm like, for general visitation.
Yeah, and that's the reason they still have to be safe, and there still have to be protocols in place. So it is not an easy answer. God knows it hasn't been an easy answer all these many months, but they need to continue to understand that they have to keep it. Permissibility ought to be the key now, and not restriction. So I know in our facility, it definitely is more permissibility, less restriction. But as soon as we have one case, it goes away.
Yep.
So Peggy, I'm just going to recap what you said to make sure that I understand it as well, if that's okay. What you're saying is we need to really be clear when we send out the templates that we're telling people what they should be asking for, what they should be asking.
Well,
Is
yeah,
that
I think we need a unified message. I mean, on what.
Okay, so
what we
we'll
really
work on that. Lori, can you get that fixed?
I would
so it's very, very specific what we're asking. And then.
Yeah, I think in closing, I mean, the template is good. If everyone wants to share their story, I'll share my story about my mother, and you know.
But in closing, everyone should include this paragraph is what.
I mean.
Do you think the template, that's too vague to say that we need guidelines that take into
You want me to share it again?
The reality is there is guidelines right now. I mean, if you look at IDPH's last whatever, there is guidelines in place. No one's following them, and then obviously it all depends on the positivity rate, the you know, the tier, the phase, the blah blah. There is guidelines. They have guidelines. I mean, are they following them?
You know,
most people aren't, and then. Yeah, and then you have the problem when there's, just like Lori just said, you got one person test positive, you know, I mean, there is guidelines out there. I mean, CMS, they need to be updated. I agree, but updated with, I don't know, I guess, yeah. I mean, I'm just like, whatever, just.
They need to, all the facilities need to be following the same guidelines. I mean, it's crazy.
Unfortunately, though, the facilities are all there. Some facilities are under different. If it's an ALF or a SNF, it's under a different thing. So they are under different guidelines completely. Some are governed by federal, some are governed by state.
They're not governed. The facilities are doing what they want to do. Okay, I got told this morning, they did a COVID test to me this morning. I said, why are we still doing this? Because corporate office ordered it. And we're supposed to go, because we don't have any more cases open here. They're doing what they want to do. These facilities are each doing what they want to do. It's not a question of guidelines.
Yeah.
Read the guidelines.
The fact that there's CMS guidelines and then state guidelines, though, that aren't exactly in parallel, they're not exactly the same, is part of what is giving the facilities so much to fall back to. Well, we're following IDPH and we're following CMS. And so I do think we have to go back to asking CMS to provide more specific guidelines, because they don't mention anything in there about what the vaccine does for towards opening. And then once they do that, we have to pressure Governor Pritzker to have IDPH follow CMS.
But you know, I think
the vaccines
our main goal. Go ahead.
Push to open the facilities. Okay? Forget the guy trying to push to open the facilities. Vaccines have went. I listened to a Zoom meeting yesterday in Illinois about all the vaccines going on, how much they have given out and everything. It's time to push these facilities to open up.
But I think how they're going to open, and I think what we need to push is that we want compassionate caregiver status. So they are not isolated. I think, you know, if it's hard for us to know what our purpose is and understand the guidelines, yes, it's hard for all the facilities, and then they're dealing with their corporate office too and what they're telling them.
Hey, guys,
I
do you
think-
mind? Sorry, Lucy,
Go
to
ahead.
interrupt.
No,
I just want to, I've got to leave here pretty soon. I
Okay.
just want to let you guys know, under new business, Carrie and I have been working very closely with Senator Jill Tracy and then her colleague, Joe Johnson. And I do want to announce that we do have a bill that's in the drafting process as we sit here right now, which is wonderful news. So timeline on that, we did ask, and she said basically once the bill is redrafted, they'll file it and assign a committee. And then she's asking us, we need to get our group behind this. Once we have a bill number, they're going to need all the support we can give them. We can also follow that bill on the ilga.gov site. And then, you know, it's just a matter of, you know, pushing it. But anyway, I think that's exciting news for all of us that
Yes,
we
it
do have
is.
that bill is in the drafting process right now. So just FYI.
Do we have any Democratic sponsors on that bill?
I believe we will have, which is very important.
It is.
So yes.
Yeah. It is, particularly with this General Assembly, because there are somewhere between 500 and 800 bills introduced every year. And they'll go to, if they come out of rules and they get assigned to committee, that's fabulous. And if she thinks she can get it assigned, then it's a matter of the bill being called in committee. There's just so much to it. And if it's a Democrat run General Assembly,
Right.
somebody on the Democratic side needs to be on that bill.
And she's very aware well of that. So yeah.
Thank you, Julie, for that update.
Yep.
Yes, you're
Yeah,
welcome.
that's great.
All right, so just to be tie this in real quick, because I'm going to stop the recording in a second. Is there anything else that we need to cover or would like to bring up that we haven't touched upon at this point? All right, so I'm gonna just share this screen to make my life easier for editing. Actually, I'll fix it later. All right, so I'm gonna stop recording, and then is that okay if I stop recording? Then we can just keep still discussing and be free now.
Yep, sure.
Okay.
I'm
'Cause I
gonna
have-
have to go, but is there